Hey, White Sox fans, Brett Ballantini here hosting Southside Sox podcast number 32. And it's a very special one because it's opening day, the opening day we've waited a long time for. And it's finally here, April Fool's Day, which seems perhaps appropriate. I'm joined by Lee Allen of the Sharing Sox podcast. Tommy Barbie has just jumped in from the Killer Bees, and it's Super Joseph Reeses, who just he's a free agent podcast guest. He's here with us on opening day. Welcome, guys. It's a big day.
Pleasure to be here.
Happy opening day, everybody.
Tommy, I was just regaling the other two guests with the story of the Miguel Cabrera home run in a blizzard snowstorm. I don't know if you've seen it, but it is definitely the must-watch highlight so far, given that it's snowing so hard in Detroit. He couldn't see the ball, thought it was a double, slid hard into second base, and had to be told it was a home run.
So, it was a home run. I thought he was going to hurt himself in the process, too.
I think that was Lee's speculation as well. Hey, maybe that Cleveland pitching isn't as strong as we think it is, given that they're already behind against the Motown Tigers.
But if Cabrera is rejuvenated, then all of a sudden the Tigers are a real team.
We've talked, or at least we've had our article, discussing how the playoffs are going to work out, how the Central Division was going to work out. And, personally, I think the division could be more bunched than it was a year ago. I don't think the Royals and Tigers are any sort of threat, but I think they almost have to be better. That doesn't necessarily pull down the top of the division, but there are a couple spoilers in this division this year.
Yeah, I think if nothing else, there's definitely a factor of neither team being kind of the doormat of the Central as they've been in the past, where they might get a few games here and there from the top teams in the division.
Yeah, I don't think the Sox can count on going 18-2 against them again this year. I'm sure it will be winning. I'm reasonably positively winning, but I think if you take 2/3, it'll be good this year rather than 90%.
Tommy, you win the best jersey for opening day competition so far. Very nice.
Thank you. I had to, go with the throwback for the day.
We have Andrew Vaughn making the open day roster, but not starting. He's starting tomorrow, either at DH or left field. So far, 2 appearances, I believe, in left field. No errors, no misplays, no injuries that we're aware of. How are we feeling about the Andrew Vaughn left field experiment, as we also welcome in Chrystal O'Keefe? She'll be joining us here. There she is, joining the discussion. Chrystal O'Keefe on opening day.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how the Vaughn experiment will work out as far as his ability to play left field. It's still far too early to call from the very small amount that he has played left field, and I do think it is a little bit underwhelming to maybe have to rely on someone who has never really played left field at a high level when we're in a season that should be resulting in a postseason appearance. So that part is a little disappointing, but I hope that the experiment goes well and that he's able to take over left field duties, and hopefully to the point where he won't even have to do so like in a pinch, to where he'll even be a viable option even without Eloy being injured.
Joe, if he pulls this off, future arbitration cases for any left fielder are going to be really, really gutted. If a guy can literally come in who's a passable and probably pretty decent first baseman and just play flawless left field, even with Luis Robert to the left of him, that's going to hurt left fielders in the future.
I don't have high hopes, but it would be really cool if it worked out.
Our bar for left field defense is pretty low.
We all remember Carlos Lee.
I happened to look at least one of his games was on the full StatCast, and not that garbage skeleton stuff we had before. So whenever something got hit out to left field, even if it was a ground single to left fielder Andrew Vaughn. I looked up the percentage, and there was nothing that was a challenge or nothing that he missed. I mean, it was a 98% chance to get caught or a 98% chance not to get caught. So really, there's been absolutely nothing to judge on yet.
When I talk to the dugout metrics guys who, Trevor, who's just got off a plane in college, Luke Smales, who's still playing in college, I wanted to pose it to them as, when you're out there, how easy is it to be told to go against your instincts, like Eloy apparently has instincts, thinking he can steal home runs, thinking he can play in the fishing net and not get caught and end up becoming a sensation throughout social media. And they both were pretty skeptical about the ability to pull that off. Do we have hope that Andrew Vaughn, it seems like right off the bat, he's listening a little better, that it's basically from me to the foul pole and it's Luis Roberts' a ball anywhere else. Do you think a guy like him, who's eager to prove himself, he's a rookie, is going to be able to pull off that kind of discipline defensively?
I don't think anybody can. They're competitive. I mean, he can be a little more careful, certainly, than Eloy, who was absolutely trying to prove himself. But
that's what he was doing.
Yet they're competitive athletes. When the games are counting, I don't think you can pull back. I think there's the ball. I'm going to go get it.
Yeah. Chrystal, I have to mention, extremely well-cropped background there. Apparently a new arrival to the O'Keefe studio background there. Very nice.
Yes, I purposely moved my desk to this corner so that the audience could see it today. I also have a lovely Barry Butler calendar.
All right.
We're just going all out for Chicago media today.
Well, on that note, listen, the clear strength of this team, the offense is pretty mighty. The rotation is mightier and hopefully potentially very, very good. But the bullpen is about as strong as you can find it. And that's got to give all of us going into the season a lot of confidence, knowing it was already pretty locked down last year with surprise additions or matriculations of Matt Foster, Cody Hoyer. But now you're adding the best in the game, a guy who wants to pitch like 800 games, who wants to pitch a couple innings a game. That's a nice card to have in the deck.
I will say the addition of Hendricks just makes me so happy. He's a really fun guy. I actually had a kind of fun story with him. We were at, I think it was Harold Baines Day in 2019. We sat right next to their bullpen when he was still on the A's, and he was just having a blast. Like, you could tell he was interacting with fans and heckling Sox fans as well. So I'm excited. Like, I feel like he's just going to bring a really good energy into that bullpen, and it's going to be fun to watch them react to that.
All right, let me jump in right here, because speaking exactly what Chrystal just said, Hamster just posted a piece. We're doing a little bit of intro to the White Sox. We've got a photo day post devoted to all of the new White Sox and some of the old. And then, because Liam Hendricks is such a character, he's such a lunatic, she broke out an entire post just to the different photo appearances of him. And yeah, the guy's got just a little bit of flavor, a little bit of flair. We've seen it even some of his charitable work that he's jumped right into, but certainly in what Crystal's saying, just giving trouble to the fans in the bullpen. He just seems like a guy you want to have out. Even facing him in the playoffs, as much as I was thinking, he's at 80 pitches. How's he going to continue performing very well? He just went out there and took it. The rest of you guys, thoughts on this bullpen, almost really having no weakness. If Jose Ruiz is your weakest arm.
It's a very good feeling going into the season, knowing that this is an area of the team where it feels like, unless there's just a catastrophe where there's like a parade of injuries or a lot of people just underperforming compared to expectations, it seems like a lot would have to go wrong for this bullpen to not be above average. And that's really nice, especially because a lot of contenders even kind of have the mindset of right around the deadline that the bullpen can always be strengthened, and that's always a target that teams are looking to improve on. And it's very, very good to have Liam Hendricks there. knowing that he'll be able to cover a lot of innings in the bullpen, that he's been very reliable, and extra credit points to him for his data-driven approach to pitching. He's similar to Lucas Giolito in that sense, in that they are both very well informed about how their pitches do against different types of hitters, and the way that they attack hitters is very much driven by data, and I like that a lot about him.
He seems like, as you all already said, just a terrific guy in every way. My one anti-Liam Hendricks thing would be where he goes running, if he does something he doesn't like, when you miss the strike zone by a quarter inch, and he goes stomping around the mound, which is fine for show. It's fun to look at, but it takes a long time, Liam. Get back on the mound, throw the next. We got this problem with games being too long already.
It's a mad Hungarian, come right back, a mad Australian, I guess. He's quite a card. Who do you think, if Hendricks had not been signed, and there's been a lot of speculation about patching up holes that don't exist, who would have advanced to be the closer on this team, assuming Colomé was not going to come back? Is Cody Hoyer the closer in waiting on this team?
Bummer.
You think Bummer, even though he's a southpaw, would have taken it on just with his experience?
Yeah.
I think Bummer would have been plan A, and then Hoyer would have been the backup if for whatever reason it didn't work out with Bummer.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Well, let's talk about the offense, right? We've got question mark in left field. Leori Garcia starting out there in the left-handed attack, as it were, for opening night. Are there concerns with this offense, given the fact that it did have a little tendency to leave runners on base? It still is perhaps a little strikeout heavy, or should I just be quiet and be happy with the fact that they basically had a winless or only tie first half of Cactus League and just kicked ass for the last 2 weeks of spring training?
I think there's room to worry. I think one of the things that all of us do, because we're fans, we go, man, that 2020, man, you win 35 and 25. I mean, that's incredible. If we got two things, the biggest one being, the biggest thing to fit is that was an incredibly easy schedule. The schedule that we and the Twins and the Indians all had, where we played 40% of our games against the Tigers, the Royals, and the Pirates. I mean, you might as well go down to Charlotte and take up their schedule. It would have been tougher. So I don't think that means that we weren't good, but I think we can overestimate how good we were, because the pitchers weren't facing very good hitters. Even the teams, I mean, you look, a team like the Cubs, where they got a lot of really good hitters, all of whom stunk. Christian Yelich was hitting 050 or something for most of the season. He's hitting 400 in the spring. He may have recovered. It was just one of those years and a hugely weak schedule. So I don't think we'll really know what we've got until maybe 6 weeks into this season, offensively or pitching wise, particularly with some of the younger guys who obviously we know Abreu, we know Anderson, but what some of the younger guys, what they really bring to the table against a better level of competition.
I remember Joe's bizarre pick for White Sox MVP being Luis Robert, which apparently the Las Vegas gambling lines agree with. So credit to Joe and apparently his outfit connections. But I don't really recall who everybody else's pick. I picked Moncada as this, I think, probably a safe bet for offensive MVP. But the thoughts, whether it's guys you might be concerned with or the guy you think is going to be most obvious offensive performer for the Sox this year, or all around player performer.
I think Moncada.
Yeah, I did too. I think it needs to be Moncada, to be honest, for the offense to be at the same type of level that it was at last year.
I keep seeing them when Tim Anderson goes out for a week with some minor injury, not being very good. And I think Tim, we use the cliche, sets the table. He does it. And if the table's not set, the other guys just don't handle it as well as they do when he's out there and starting things. And I think he can be consistently good. I think the some of the prognostications have him hitting 270 or something. He's become so much smarter a hitter than he was when he was hitting 270. He's just a very smart hitter now, and that helps a lot. I picked for MVP. I picked him, and I saw somebody picked as the MVP Grandal, and I would say if we had a different category, which is who is the guy you cannot lose, I think it's Yasmani Grandal. I don't have, yes, I do think that Collins is better than it used to be. The gap between the two of them is just so huge that if Grandal's gone, I think the season is got some real problems.
That was James Fox of the White Sox are going to win 96 games. Foxes who picked Grandal as MVP. And that's a really good point because he might be the most essential, which is slightly different from MVP. The thing about Tim Anderson I like too is we talk so much about how he's grown on the field and obviously as a hitter, he won a batting title, but his personality has gotten, I mean, I'll say ridiculous because he went from a guy who was extremely shy, as probably most rookies should be, aren't always, to a guy who, when we hear him mic'd up, it's like, he would drive me crazy an opponent. I think he would drive me crazy as a teammate. He does not stop. He's relentless. And I think speaking of what Lee's saying, I think there might be something about like, there's a lost limb syndrome where it's like, if they don't hear constant chatter, if Tim is off in the training room, getting a hamstring worked on, it's like, I'm not sure that they have their bearings. And I think he really is this, as much as we talk about Abreu as the grandfather, the pappy character of the team. I mean, the heartbeat and the captain, I think it's Tim.
I think he's turned into Mr. Dependable. And I mean, what Lee said is right. I think they really do rely on him to just get everyone worked up and ready to go. And when he's, leading off and hitting the ball, I think it just amps everybody up and they go out and they want to do exactly what Tim did because he's kind of their unofficial leader, unofficial spokesperson of the White Sox at this point. And I just love how mouthy and confident he gets now. It's my favorite.
He was doing an interview on one of the TV shows, one of the few that the actual crew did, that Jason and Stoney did. And he was out of the game and he was just sitting down and chatting. And my wife was in the room. My wife does not like baseball. She does not like sports. She doesn't follow sports. But she was in the room while he was having this long conversation. She's going, that's a really sharp and cool guy. And so he carries over. It's not just the baseball part of it.
The Cincinnati interview on field with AJ Przinsky and whoever the play-by-play guy was at the end of last year was absolutely all-time classic, because if you can be on the field executing, talking to your teammates and giving the booth trouble, because he was giving it back just like he gave ESPN trouble, I think, during a preseason game, summer camp game. If you're actually, I mean, that's a multifaceted mind right there, to be able to be giving crap to the booth, to be checking out your bearings on the field. Listen, Tim is clearly a very important piece of this team and a heartbeat of this team. Joe, I'll give you a chance to defend your pick of Robert, which is by no means a silly pick, because as I think we discussed, his basement might be the highest of any player on this team, because no doubt, even if he continues to swing at every single pitch thrown to him, he's going to give you incredible positive Gold Glove center field value, amazing base running value, because I think he was among the stolen base leaders in spring, which may not mean anything, but it does show he's going to be awfully aggressive and he can steal bases at will. So MVP pick, not just because anybody in Las Vegas leaned on you, Joe, but explain that rationale.
Yes, that is certainly a big part of it. I like how talented he is in the field, and center field is a pretty tricky position to find. And we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, how there's even a remote possibility that Andrew Vaughn in left field might work out, even though he's pretty slow compared to most major leaguers, and he hasn't really played that position at a high level at all. So there would be literally zero chance of Andrew Vaughn working out in center field as a viable option. So I like how Robert not only is a good defender, but he does so at a position that's tough to find. And I do have confidence that he will bounce back at the plate. He did have that slump in September where he was just kind of in a zone where he was thinking, I've got to hit this pitch. I've got to hit this pitch. And that was obviously not a good thing to see after the hot start that he had. But I feel like at the end and even in the playoff series, he kind of made adjustments and kind of settled a little bit down at the plate. And we saw him kind of rediscover his power. And of course, he did have the big home run in that game 3. And I think that, that was his very first major league experience was in 2020. And he didn't have like a September call up in 2019 where he could have said like, okay, yeah, these are the things that will hurt me at the major league level if I don't change these habits. And he finally got some major league playing time, and I think it'll really pay off this season, because at this point he's had the entire offseason to go back and say like, okay, I struggled in September. This was kind of why I was struggling, and here's what I can do to change it. So I'm a big buyer of the Luis Robert stock, and I think he'll have a big year up ahead.
Joe, you're acting like there's no science to the manipulation of service time. I'm really surprised at you because you're a data analyst. Okay, now I'm not going to ace.
Yeah, that was obviously a thing that happened.
I'm not going to ace Lee out of this portion of the conversation, but we were joking about this before we got started. And as it turns out now, we have a full 4/5 of the participants in this discussion in the Eastern time zone, which is going to make for a very challenging opening week of the season, particularly opening night of the season, given it's the latest game on the slate. Tonight, how do the other 3 of you in the Eastern times, I have no choice, but how do the other 3 of you feel about a game that will last well past midnight?
Well, so I found my beloved vanilla Coke at the grocery store. Because of the tin shortage with COVID, it has been very difficult to track down, but it's the only soda I drink. So I'm just gonna keep drinking these until I'm like absolutely insane, and my poor husband is like, oh my God, will you please shut up, woman? So yeah, I'm just gonna drink all of these.
Shout out to Vanilla Coke and to the
Yes.
Sun Times. Chrystal, you are the official product placement member of this panel, and thank you for that, because that can only help out
Just trying to get some
Nation.
sponsorships.
Yeah, because they are wanting and lacking. Okay, Joe, Tommy, you're going to be able to hold up. Am I going to see you post game?
Absolutely, yes.
I'll be here.
I'm
Yeah.
very ready to stay up tonight. Yeah, this is a special day of the year, and lately, at least, I haven't been getting to bed like that much earlier anyway. So, this is no problem considering it's opening day.
Oddball or oddity of a staff of 40 that we have the entire Indianapolis office here in this podcast. So actually, Joe, if you find yourself lagging, I believe there is a stock of, I think, 6 to 7 cases of vanilla Coke in case, like about 7th inning, you're starting to lag, miss a half inning, get over to Chrystal's, I'm sure she'll give you like a 6-pack,
Great.
and then you're good the rest of the way.
Yeah. I've got coffee, I've got tea, I've got soda. We're good.
Great.
Just come on over.
How weird has this been for everybody just to have lived in this baseball world now for almost, I guess, a full year without any sort of normalcy? And maybe attached to that question is, how apprehensive, given the situation that's going on right now in Washington, how apprehensive are you about the fact that we might not get 162 games? And down in Texas, where they're known not to play by many rules, it's going to be like a sellout crowd or something. I mean, they're making Florida look like they're smart. So feelings just going into this, obviously this is all sort of Christmas Eve or Christmas morning, but from there.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be very interesting what happens. Presumably most states now, Illinois has not, but I think most states have gone to vaccination is available to all adults. That doesn't mean you can actually get the shot. There are still plenty of people that, particularly friends of my wife's, who they're just going, yeah, where can I go? I've been trying for months, and they're not getting it. So there is that problem. The question would be when the players can actually get vaccinated. And given that, I don't know, you guys have been vaccinated or not. I'm being a geezer. I'm in that category where not only did I get the shots fairly early, but we're not really susceptible to a problem with them as much as younger people are, I guess, because our immune systems aren't as powerful or whatever. It could be that when the players do get shots, particularly the second shot, if they're doing a Moderna or a Pfizer, or even a first shot, my daughter-in-law had a lot of trouble. She did the Johnson & Johnson and had a real bad day after that. That's not going to be a long-term problem, but the guys may have to sit out a day or two after getting the shot. So there's little minor disruptions in addition to the possible major disruptions we had last year, where a team just couldn't play for, well, a week or two of the Marlins and the Cardinals last year.
And I think the taxi squad may be a thing that comes back into full force, where you have more extra players readily available for situations like that. As much as they don't want to do that, I have to see that being in play as we get further into the season, because we saw it last year. It became impossible to try to reschedule these games. And now that they're trying to fit in a full season of baseball, you're not going to have that opportunity to just keep canceling games. So, I mean, I have to think that's going to come into play in the next month or so.
We feel okay about the minors playing out. Normally, we've already seen AAA get pushed back a month. And Charlotte will be starting with the rest of the minor leagues. Obviously, the travel there, it's a much easier situation to create these sort of mini bubbles in the major leagues with private jets and so forth. To me, it would seem like a team at least who cares about their AAA players would be willing to make, I don't know, some luxury buses or a private jet available to the team to travel that way, rather than say, hey, we got to push it back because they're still traveling commercial. It helps that everything has been more localized, and basically all the entire slate's going to be just a week of games out of place. And Charlotte's playing the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp 650 times this year. So all that sort of like regional play helps. But, the majors is one thing, but they're fueled by the minors. And is there going to be any sort of disconnect there with maybe the minors not being able to get off the right way? That was an optional question. I mean, nobody has to answer, of course.
I think so, but I don't know. The whole situation with the minor leagues, to me, is just so screwed up that I don't know. I don't even know where to begin to tackle most of the changes that they've made, where it just feels arbitrary at this point for a lot of it. And there are so many opportunities that could have been taken to make the transition easier for the minor league players. There's so many opportunities that could have been made to make either an increase in salary, or, to your point, provide travel that is, not commercial for them to more easily travel more safely, things of that nature. And just none of those things have been taken advantage of. And I hate to say it, but it may come down to a high profile prospect getting, COVID or something happening with them for that to finally change, where they realize, hey, this really is a problem that has direct impact on the major leagues. Because right now, it just seems like they're treating it as a separate issue that they don't have to deal with.
Right. You also go down in the minors, it's not just travel.
No.
I mean, these guys, particularly as you get lower in the minors, the guys who didn't have some nice big signing bonus, these guys live 4 to a small apartment. Sometimes, I mean, I lived in Dayton for a number of years, the Dayton Dragons, a single A team. A lot of those guys, they lived in the community. They lived in somebody's house. That house had teenagers. Trying to create some kind of bubble for that situation is really, really difficult. And as Tommy indicates, how hard are the major leagues really going to work at getting that to happen? Probably not very.
Eric Sim used to write for us. He never played in the White Sox organization, but he became a pretty high profile advocate for minor leaguers, though, now long retired. I believe at one point was living in a house with guys, and because it would cost him a little bit less rent, he decided to live in a closet. So he actually made a closet his bedroom because he paid just a little bit less. Along with that, probably at somewhere in the A level. Okay, I am getting the shadow from Zoom looming over us. So how about we just go around and let's maybe get a prediction or a read on what is going to happen here on opening night for the White Sox.
All right, I'm going to start. Andrew Vaughn is going to hit 3 home runs tonight.
That's going to be so. Late scratch Leo Garcia. Andrew Vaughn gets in for some big hits and no errors, of course, in left field, no errors. So that's pretty sweet. And I'll ask Chrystal, are we going to have a cross-site pollination with Billy down there with you, or is he in Chicago, or how are the different sites? How's the Sox machine, Southside Sox Alliance, going to work out?
He is here. My children will be in bed probably like 2 hours before the game even starts, but he's here. If he actually stays up, I will be very surprised.
We've got vanilla Coke.
He doesn't drink soda. He doesn't drink any caffeinated beverages at all because he's like healthy, unlike me. So it'll probably just be me in my living room trying to just be quiet and let everyone else sleep.
You can say it, Chrystal. He just doesn't care enough. He doesn't want it enough. It's okay. We can say that. We can trash talk a little between sides too.
I came into this fan base and he just stopped caring. He spent all this work trying to get me over here and then he just stopped caring.
All right, let's move up. Tommy, what's the prediction for tonight?
I think it's going to be a big opening coming out party for Zach Collins. I do think that some of what he showed in spring training was legit, and I wouldn't be surprised if he made some noise tonight.
Okay, aside from 3 stolen bases for Luis Robert, what's it going to be for you, Joe?
I'm actually going with Giolito and Moncada to be co-MVPs tonight, and the White Sox will win 3-2. Giolito had the weak start of last season on the opener, but I think he bounces right back and nails the opening day start tonight.
Okay, Lee, as you've made it clear, you've seen more opening days than any of us.
He had that horrible start last year. Just had so much adrenaline pushing last year that the high fastball was a little over the head high fastball through the early part of it. I think by pitching a playoff game, he showed that he has got his nerves under a little better control than he had of an opening day last time. I think it'll be fine. I believe that 538 has the odds tonight as 51-49 in favor of the Angels, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say the score will not be 51-49. And it'll be much more defensive than that with Lucas out there. I think the Sox pull it off, but end up being about a 4-3 range.
I like the fact that they've taken a lot of momentum into opening day. They turned it around in the right way, and you can say that stuff doesn't matter any, but hey, they're feeling good. They're feeling confident. They can crow a little bit and get away with it because they basically haven't lost in a while. Okay. All right. I guess they lost their last game, but yeah, and Lucas, you're right. The transformation between Dallas Keuchel sort of laughing at him, seeing how nervous he was pregame for opening day to taking a perfect game. What is it like through 5, right? Opener of the playoffs. That alone tells you that you shouldn't see that kind of duplication, even if he is sort of back in his home state. He's probably going to have a lot of people there, even though not many people can get into the park. Apparently, 2 Southside Soxers, including your son Lee, are going to be there over the weekend. So that's going to be pretty sweet.
Sunday night, he was even looking. They opened up some more seats. They had 25% limit. They opened it up to 33. So they've opened up a few more, but they've been really expensive. Except for some reason, Sunday was cheap. So that's when he's going down there.
Okay. As I've already got commitments from most of you, post-game, we're going to be doing a podcast after the game. If the game's going lousy, we may even start it early. Who's to say? But, it'll probably be a post-midnight or so post-game opening day podcast. So we are going to be coming at you again twice.
74-year-old will not be here for that.
Well, that's all right. You will be there in spirit, and I will try to at least pour one out for the duty geezer for sure. And hopefully we'll all just be celebrating a win. So we'll know that you went to bed happy as well. Ton of coverage today. Of course, you've already seen a bunch of stuff on site. We're going to revamp the 6-pack of stats a little bit. I'm writing the recap for the first game for opening day. We may do a live game thread. That doesn't really seem to go over because people just seem to want to make comments in game threads. Go figure. So I might not bother with all that, like every minute update or not, but we'll see. That's a possibility. A lot of fun stuff to read already. We got Colleen Sullivan's Know Your Enemy coming out about the Angels. So you can learn all about the reasons you should hate those guys. And again, throughout the whole season, we're going to have a ton of stuff for you to be reading, listening to. We're doing more podcasts than ever. Several people here have their own. So, hey, the network grows and widens. So listen, thanks everybody for joining me here. Let's have a good opening day and a big win, even though it's going to be late for most of us, well, for all of us. And hey, it's not no danger of snow. So I suppose that's a good thing too. No danger of somebody hitting home run and losing it on the way out over the fence. So thanks everybody for listening and watching. Stay tuned all season, of course, to Southside Sox for really the most comprehensive, biggest, most diverse, most fun coverage you're going to find anywhere of the White Sox. And thanks for hanging in with us here on our opening day pregame podcast. Hope it was an enjoyable listen for you.